Okay, so I just opened up GarageBand, and today we're going to be talking about how to use GarageBand for some basic podcasting. So I've just opened it up, and in the top right there I have a plus sign, so I can use that to go ahead and open up a brand new recording. So I just clicked that. So the first thing you're going to see is it wants you to select what type of instrument you want to start with. Because we're doing a podcast, we are going to select audio recorder. So I'm going to go ahead and click voice right down there at the bottom left. Now, when GarageBand starts up, the metronome is automatically turned on. So in the top right, there's a little blue icon there that looks like the metronome. So you want to just turn that off. Otherwise, you will hear the clicking as you are recording. So the next thing you want to take a notice is that my audio, you can see that the levels going up and down on the in. You may want to tell your students to adjust that. If they're really quiet, they can raise the volume up a little bit, or if there's a lot of noise, they can drop it down. But what you definitely want to avoid is the green line turning into red. If it turns into red, that's called clipping, and the audio is going to sound really distorted because it's loud. So I found a good level. Maybe I'll drop it down just a little bit more there. And the next thing I want to do is I want to change the length of this recording. So in the top right, there's a little plus sign just past the 8 measures of my recording here. I'm going to click that plus sign there. And notice it says section A is 8 bars. I am going to click the 8 bars, and I want to turn on automatic. By doing this, my recording, as I record, it will continue changing the length of my recording and add on automatically. This is good. Otherwise, it would stop as soon as it gets to 8. We are now ready to record, so I'm simply going to hit the record button up at the top. It gives a 4 count in, and now as I record, you can see the audio begin to show up. I refer to these as tracks. You can tell your students that these are tracks, audio tracks. And you see it gets to 8, and then because I switched to auto, it's going to just keep extending and keep extending. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit stop right now. And that's kind of the first part of getting some audio directly in. Now, your students will be able to add multiple tracks of audio if they want to. And all you really have to do, if you want to add a new layer of audio, is on the left-hand side, underneath the microphone, there's a plus sign. So by clicking that plus sign right there, I can now choose to add some more, a different instrument or something like that. But I'm going to go ahead and choose audio recorder again. So now I have a second microphone, and I'm going to be able to record. The only issue is that my first track of audio is still on. If I hit record now, it's going to play that audio and record at the same time, and that's going to create a mess of 2 different audio tracks. So you kind of have 2 options. Option number 1 is you plug in some headphones. That way the students can listen to track number 1 and record the new track. Option number 2 is to go over here to the left-hand side and swipe out. Let's go ahead and swipe out like that. And when you swipe out, you're going to have some extra controls now for each of these tracks. So for example, if I still think that track number 1 was maybe a little bit too loud, I can drop the volume down here or turn it back up. But what's most important is that I can click mute right there, the little speaker icon on the left. And because I've muted track number 1, now I can, when I record, I can add some new audio right here, and it won't play track 1 while I'm recording track 2, and that's very important for your students to learn. So I'm going to go ahead and click stop on that track now. Now I can turn back track 1 on. I will now have 2 audio tracks playing at the same time. This may not be a good idea, so I'm just going to go ahead and click on track 2, and I'll press it again, and there's a menu there. There, of course, is delete, so I can remove that. That is how you can take out some audio. Now, I want to talk a little bit about some editing. So first thing you should tell your students about editing, if you want to zoom in and zoom out, of course just use two fingers. You can pinch to zoom in, or you can pinch, swipe to zoom out. That's definitely something that will help out with your students. If you select a track, so like I selected this first one here, and let's say for some reason you need to get rid of some extra space here at the beginning, I can just take the edge and drag that to get rid of some of that extra beginning part. Or let's go over here towards the end, and maybe there's something I messed up on the end. I can just remove some of that piece. So you can get some basic editing, trimming, just by pulling in from the left, pulling from the right, and that could be helpful for your students. Sometimes you may need to edit the middle of a track. So let's take a look here. Let's zoom in. Let's say, for example, this piece is something I need to delete. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the play marker where I want it to be. Now, keep in mind, every time you zoom in, that's going to give you a little bit more detail about where to put the marker. Let's say this is the chunk I need to take out, right? So I'm going to click on the track, and if I need to remove anything, I'm just going to click split. This is very similar to iMovie. Some scissors show up, so now all I really have to do is just take those scissors and slice right through it. I just swiped down, and let's go ahead and put the play marker over here, and let's do the same thing again. Click on the track, click split, swipe down with the scissors, and now each of these is a separate chunk of audio that you can just click on, you tap on it, and it can be moved around. Or I can say, you know what, maybe that's the piece that I need to delete, and maybe I need to take this chunk and move it down over here. So you can move and shift things around. It's kind of like creating a collage of your audio, cutting, pasting, and moving things around. Just let's take a quick look at some of the other options inside. When I click on some audio, you have the options to cut, copy, delete, loop, split, rename, and some settings. The main thing your students are probably going to need is the ability to split and possibly copy. Of course, delete as well. So let's go ahead and export this out. Let's say that we're finished and ready to go. I'm going to click in the top left, My Songs. So I click My Songs. And this particular project saved as My Song 10. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and tap on My Song 10 and hold it for a few seconds. And a menu pops up. Copy, duplicate, rename, move, delete, share. Share is what we want. So I'm going to click Share. And you have three options to save it as a song, a ringtone, or a project. We want to save it as a song. So let's click Song. Your students will have a couple of options, to list the artist, composer, album, things like that, and then also choose the quality of the track. High quality should be perfect enough for being able to listen to it online. So I'm going to go ahead and click Share again. And then this window comes up, and you can pick and choose how you want to, or where you want to send that song or that podcast to. So typically I would say you're probably going to send it to a classroom, Google Drive, Seesaw if you want to post it there. Those would be some of the main options. Maybe sending it to Padlet, or even sending it to iMovie and then doing some film stuff in there. You have quite a few options of how you'd like to